Today in this video we'll be discussing about how you can optimize for E.A.T and how that can help you in boosting up your rankings. So before beginning, let us first understand what E.A.T actually means. So E.A.T stands for expertise, authority and trustworthiness, which in short is a protocol guided by the Google Webmaster Guidelines on three important measures that webmasters need to take care of their content. First thing, the content should be written from experts. Second thing, the content or the landing page should have an authority, or the website should have an authority. The third, the content should have a trustworthy factor. In other words, the content which you are making for the users should provide a trustworthy factor with respect to your audience. Now this is actually not a ranking factor, but this is in synchronization with the guidelines and protocols as labeled out by the Google Webmaster protocols, and they really needs to be added to because they can help you in gaining ranks and increasing your search visibility. So as you can see from the screen, there are few of the ways by which you can optimize your E.A.T signals, and they are as follows. If you follow these practices, then your E.A.T signals not only would be optimized, but you can have a greater edge than your competition for gaining search spot and also for gaining search visibility. Now I'll share you a small assessment and I'll walk you through on how you can optimize for E.A.T on a real-time example. As you can see from this screen that I have presented a brief assessment on each signal. So let us first take the expertise. So I have taken the landing page thatware.co/AI based SEO services, and my focus keyword is AI based SEO services. So what I'll do as a part of the activity is that I'll post a PDF submission on an extremely high domain authority website with the above mentioned keyword. Reason is because PDF, ebooks, these all are proven to be a part of white papers, and white papers can always help in increasing the expertise of the author. The thing is, think like this way. Suppose I have written a landing page about AI based SEO. Now Google would obviously want that this particular landing page should be written from some experts within this field, and if an expert is writing, then they need to write in the form of a white paper or in form of an ebook, and or it can be in form of a PDF. Now submitting that on a high domain authority website can make sure that we have a good link juice from that particular domain, and it can help us to increase our expertise signal. Moving on to the next slide. Here is a brief assessment on the E.A.T signal based on the authority. Now in order to do that, you need to go into your search console and you need to check which page receives the highest number of impressions. You can simply do that by going into your search console and by going into the performance tab and checking which page have received the highest number of impressions. For our case, let us take SEO Services Australia as one of the landing pages, and our focus keyword can be SEO Services in Australia, and anchor text can be that where, which is our brand name. And the activity which we would be doing is we would be doing a press release or a news journal post on some news channel websites or some high authority domain website. But the thing is, we will be using only that where as the anchor text for a backlinking. There is three reasons in support of this statement. The first thing is that brand name can always provide a good authority signal, because this shows that something is coming from a brand and not just any random sources. Second thing is, this should be published on news portals or press releases, because news platforms eventually have the tendency to come on the Google News section, and also they have an extremely high domain authority of more than 90+. So they gives a high chances of proving your authority for the web crawlers, that whatever information it is fetching, it's fetching from a relevant sources and it is fetching from some reliant sources, and this information can be treated for satisfying your authority. The third but important factor is you need to also make sure that that particular page receives the highest number of impressions, because Google would also check the user experience, and if Google finds that this particular landing page receives a lot of impressions, then this would trigger Google that this page do have a greater chance of showing up on the search and people are actually liking this content. The next and the last assessment based on E.A.T signal is trustworthiness. And once again, you need to go into your Google Analytics. In maybe a year there will be Google Analytics 4, so either way you need to open your analytics console and you can check the average time spent and the low bounce rate of your page. For our cases, we have found that SEO electronic OEM gadget services, this landing page have the maximum time spent by the users and have the lowest possible bounce rate. So for instance, let's suppose our keyword is SEO services for electronics OEM gadget, and this can be an LSI keyword obviously, because there is honestly with trustworthiness it's advisable not to use any exact match keyword as that might result in a spammy act. Now what we would do is like we would just use an LSI keyword and we would just do a we can just yield a backlink from a high domain authority website, because the thing is, first of all, this particular landing page which you can see have the maximum time spent. In other words, if a user spends the maximum time on the landing page and if there is low bouncing rate, then Google would trigger that this landing page is liked by most of the users and there is a quite a high level of user satisfaction on this particular URL. And at the same time, since we are not directly using any kind of direct keyword, so Google would think that there is no spam activities are going on, and hence the trustworthy factor can be well defined. And following the three of the assessment as I've shown, your E.A.T signals can be well optimized, and this can help you to optimize your campaign for the E.A.T signal. Now, as I've shown you the three assessments on how you can improve your expertise, authority and trust for your campaign by using simple techniques yet effective techniques. So if you follow these three simple techniques for your campaign, you can pretty much acquire your E.A.T trigger point. And just like I said, this is not a ranking factor, but still this is one of the important guidelines from Google Webmaster, and this is bound to make good improvements happening for your campaign. In our case, we do have seen a good amount of search visibility and traffic increase from the selected landing pages as we have shown with the help of the E.A.T signaling factor. Thanks once again for watching this episode of E.A.T signals.